I find it kind of disturbing how most of us, or maybe not all of us, maybe all of us, can more readily imagine doomsday than the utopia, right? It feels like collectively it's easier to do that. Like, oh, the end of the world, like, she's going to the gutter and we're all gonna die. Whereas imagining the opposite of that, it's really hard, right?
My name is Jose. Thank you so much for joining us today. We should have a nice episode today. Today I am joined by my three lovely friends, Edgar, Carlos, and Gian. And like always, I can talk a lot about them, but let me allow them to introduce themselves. So guys, let's start with Gian. Gian, introduce yourself.
Well, my name is Gian. I attended UCSD many years ago, and to this day, continue to talk about it, and reminisce amongst ourselves with the wife. And it was UCSD, known as like the University of the Socially Dead. And I I take a little umbrage to that because I wouldn't have been able to meet all three of you, my wife. And I think about all the positive activities, all the education behind it, and I think it was a great time to be there. And without, UCSD, I wouldn't be able to meet with you guys and continue to chat over the years and, develop into, I think, a deeper bond and actually start this podcast.
Cool. Very cool. I like that. The University of the Socially Dead. I like that one. That one's I never heard of that one. That was pretty good. That was really good.
I don't know if that was like a jab at UCSD or a paid promotion.
Take it as you will.
Yeah, I agree because I think I recently went back and I felt the same vibe, the same energy you per se.
Or lack
So,
thereof. What
or
do you?
lack thereof. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So it felt like nothing had really changed. So thank you, Mr. Gian, for your intro.
sure.
Now we move on to Carlos.
Everyone, my name is Carlos. I'm a PhD student in physics. I'm currently in my office, or it's not in my office. I'm about to get kicked out to make room for a new postdoc. So I'm currently in my workspace. I have a very nice view here on the 7th floor. I had a soccer game today. I'm an amateur soccer player. We won, it went well, 3-1. I'm still not 100%. I'm trying to get back to peak performance, but it's a journey going to physical therapy and having other priorities which don't permit me to work out as much as I would like.
Wow, that's it. I didn't know you were going to physical therapy. Is it like a recurring injury or just something new?
Yeah, the same injuries from college, from
Wow.
UCSD, like the ankles.
The ankles, yeah, I remember that. I remember those injuries. Yeah, wow,
That was
man.
me,
Well,
man. I broke that dude's ankles.
yeah. It's been speaking of the man who broke people's ankles, made people fall,
The
and who has
nutmegger.
never gotten injured. The nutmegger, the original nutmegger. Edgar, would you introduce yourself?
Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Edgar. I also went to UCSD with these guys. Became a professional engineer, and I think one of the things that is pretty cool that's made me happy is lately my projects have received awards from the American Society of Civil Engineers, ASE, for two categories. One for best like structural engineered building, and then another one for best project that improved the community. So I always talk about like giving back to the community and whatnot. And this week our team got recognized for that, so that was really cool. And that's for a library in Pacific Highlands Ranch. So yeah,
Very cool. Congratulations on that award.
thank you, sir.
Congrats.
Congrats.
You
Slow
know
clap,
what's
slow clap.
weird, dude? Like, I think Carlos can relate to. You know how growing up as kids, we would get trophies and stuff for like soccer. Yeah, but this time like our table was like full of fucking trophies, but it's like, oh shit, now it's engineering. It's like kind of
Yeah.
funny, like where you're
That's
at in your
cool.
life. Yeah.
One random question I just have. Did you see that award motivated your team by any
Oh
chance?
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I
Yeah.
gave them all on top of the award that they got. Like, I made sure that they were invited to the ceremony. They went up there. They got the recognition. But then I gave them a bunch of like time off too, 2 days time off. So yeah, definitely for sure. That shit, big motivator.
Oh, that's really cool, man. That's very cool. That's a good boss. That's a good boss there. And so lastly, I'm gonna introduce myself. My name is Jose. I, like them, went to UCSD here in San Diego. This is where we all met. And unlike Edgar and Carlos and Gian, who went and did engineering disciplines that were more visually pleasing, I guess, more more structurally based, I did more of the electronic side of things. So I graduated as an electrical engineer. I still work as an electrical engineer. And so tech has been always something very big that I really enjoyed and just enjoyed learning. And so actually with that, that kind of segues into the topic for today. And today, the one that has the topic is me. How sick. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today. And it's about tech. Not necessarily tech as an overall, but in particular just one area, and that's artificial intelligence. If you have been keeping up with the news lately, that term artificial intelligence has been everywhere, right? It's been in the cell phones that we have, in the new updates that we have that we get on our apps. It's that term is just thrown out everywhere. And so today I kind of wanted to go deep into that a little bit in depth and have probably a discussion about how that affects our today's world. But before I start, I kind of want to ask you guys, have you guys heard about artificial intelligence? Was it something like especially like for example, Carlos, you're still in school. Is that something that's still being like talked about within the
Yeah,
school grounds?
yeah, it's talked about a lot. It's been talked about a lot, more so recently with this explosion of generative AI. But machine learning has been a thing that is, like a subset of AI for, at least 2012, I remember, around there, like, so yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and that's true. It's been, I mean, it has a different name now, I guess, artificial intelligence. But you're right, machine learning has been going on like that's been a topic for like the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
Edgar, you as a structural engineer, like, do you guys hear that topic right now a lot, or like that term? Sorry, artificial intelligence.
Yeah, yeah. In my field, we use it. Usually, when they mention it, it kind of strikes up both like fear and wonder. It's kind of like a weird term. Fear because of the worry, like maybe it could replace us in the future. It could do our own calcs and stuff. But then also wonder because it's like unlimited like potential. Um, so yeah, it strikes up different feelings when it's brought up at work, like both good and bad. So I imagine that's what we're gonna get into today.
Yeah, and actually, you really touched on the on kind of one of the main things that I really wanted to discuss today is that fear and wonder. You know, it's almost like a um, polar sides of this topic, right? About artificial intelligence. How like some people really fear it, some people are like so for it, and it's like what is this? You know,
Or both, like you
or
can
both?
experience
Yeah,
both at the same time.
yeah. What about you, Gian? Like,
I think in genders, like what Edgar was saying, both fear and wonder. I mean, there are endless possibilities that you can use it for. But when I initially hear it, I think of it kind of as a negative, almost like a crutch. Like we look at this AI and like we need AI to do something that we should be able to do ourselves.
yeah, yeah. That's right. And and with that, I think during the education episode, if for those who are watching, if you haven't seen it, go ahead and watch it. But in that episode, we really touched about AI and how it can influence and help education, right? But that episode really got me thinking about just overall what is AI and what does it do. So ever since that episode, actually, everyone, I've been really into like just learning about what AI is, and just really quick, just to kind of share from what I learned, it's about, like Carlos said, AI is nothing new. It's just a new term. It's a term that's been kind of popularized right now. Since the 50s, that term was kind of released, um, in by a computer scientist named John McCarthy, who was in a conference, and he was just talking about how, hey, machines can one day do what humans do, like an artificial intelligence. And so from there on, that term kind of got, rebirth, and a lot of sci-fi movies kind of like took that on as well. And so um so that, so a lot of these I don't want to say nerds, but a lot of the computer scientists or sci-fi fanatics really wanted to go deep into this topic, and so we've seen a lot of different improvements in machines, right? There's this famous chess game. I don't know if you guys remember. IBM created this whole machine to play chess against the best chess player, right? But that machine had to know and which moves to make depending on what the human made, right? And I think at one point, like, that machine actually defeated the world's best chess master, So that was kind of like impressive. Like, wow, a machine could actually beat that, So I had to do a lot of these reasonings, and so I think in a few episodes ago, Carlos mentioned that how AI has already been like out there, and he was right, with the Alexis and with the Google series, right, and the Google assistants. That's kind of like the precursors to what we know today. So, so then I started kind of like trying to research a little bit further, like, well, then why did it explode? And I guess it turns out it's this transformer model that Google found out, which is like a neural network architecture that can handle a lot of complex language tasks. So you tell it, you give it like a prompt, and they'll know what, like, using a probabilistic model, they'll know what's gonna be the next thing you're gonna say. And so it got so good. This model got so good that um, it was able to kind of respond very, very close to how a human would respond to an answer, right?
Can you just explain, like, simply what you understand a neural network is?
Yeah. So from what I understood, is just um, it's just like an algorithm that kind of collects a lot of information, and based on that information, it kind of just remakes calculations based on probability, and it just like the probability of what the next like what the next state is gonna be, and so based on that state, it's just like it's just gonna keep on, I guess, improving the answer of what you
Yeah.
have, right?
Yeah, I don't know a lot about this, but from what I understand, it's an algorithm that is basically mimicking the brain, right? And it's in the name, right? A
Yeah,
neural
yeah,
network.
right. Because of its the way it kind of it like the I guess the competitions it makes, because of how quick it can find these answers, it mimics a lot the way a human responds, right? So, the human has a brain, and so that's kind of what they're trying to approach, right? This is what they're trying to get at, to really mimic the brain, kind of like what you said. And so this is where that term generative AI um comes from, which is it's just learning patterns, which is just AI that's learning from patterns and massive data sets, right? And and then from this, you kind of develop large language models, what they call large language models, which is just like a lot of these deep learning models, like the neural networks, just different types of them, and just the like different algorithms, I guess you can say. And I didn't know this, but I guess different big companies have their own little model. So, we all know ChatGPT. So GPT has that's their own large language model, but Google has its own, and like it's not depending on ChatGPT. And then even Facebook or Meta has its own. I didn't know that, and I was like, oh wow, they have their own thing, and these are big like models that people are basing new apps on, and this is kind of where I kind of want to like kind of just end this introduction, that based on these large models, which create apps like ChatGPT or Gemini, people are developing apps on top of them. And so those apps just do something functional for us. So for example, there's this app called 11 Labs. And so what it does is it uses one of these large language models, and it clones people's voices. So you can kind of add a recording of you, right? You give it that data set, and it'll just, using its large language model, it will kind of figure out how your voice will sound with different syllables, and then you can tell it to say something, and it does it. So you can probably call your boss and be like, "Hey, boss, I'm sick," but have the AI be like telling your boss that you're sick, right?
Or they
Um,
use it for people that died, right? Like if you want to hear their voice again, you
yeah,
could do that.
yeah, I mean that's another way that they can use it. Um, this one kind of tripped me out. Well, um, there's AI, what they call agents, which is just an app on top of this language model, to create apps, just apps or websites for you. So like you have your own business, you're like, dude, I don't know anything about coding. Hey, can you build me a website that lists out all of my prices for my coffee that I'm selling? And it'll do it. It'll make it look clean, nice. And so I'm like, dude, that's impressive. For those who are doing, like Carlos was doing school, there's time management or tasking apps, that can help you organize your day and your calendar if for some reason it's really hard for you. And kind of like the latest one I found out, like there's like Google has one where you read it, you have an article and you're like, dude, this is too long to read. You just upload the article and it'll summarize it for you, and or it will create a podcast, like a little podcast. So that way you can listen to it while you're driving, and you didn't have to read. And I thought that was crazily impressive. And then I mean I didn't try this part, but I guess let's say if you're hearing the conversation and you want to ask a question, you can inter uh intercept that conversation and ask the AI bots like, hey, did you how did they figure this out? And then it will give you an answer. Now, the problem with all this is that it's still fairly new. It's still fairly new. These models are still very um, uh, early, and so what that means is that sometimes they'll give you some really wrong answers, and you're like, no, this is that's wrong. You kind of have to teach it, and so it's not ready to take over the world. But it does beg to the question of, can it one day take over the world? And so that's just kind of like a quick run through of what AI is, or what I learned what AI is. But like I said, these agents, these AI apps on top of these large language models is what to me is very it's very surprising. So I just kind of wanted to talk about three main topics, and the first one is like I said, we've all seen the term AI out in the news or wherever we're at. And so, have you guys been exposed to AI? Do you guys use it? What do you guys think about it? And if you do use it, how do you use it? And if not, why not? So let's start with Carlos.
Hi. So yeah, I use it a lot, and to me, I think I'm able to use it because I realize that more than ChatGPT is helping me, I'm helping ChatGPT become a better model. So the interactions I have with ChatGPT is just making it like learn more and understand me more and be able to predict like more situations that are related to my research. And that came from a prior understanding of, Google and their business model, which they're in the business of, scraping your lived experience online and selling it to people who want to do trades on a futures market on Wall Street, right? So I guess that's why I was so not hesitant to use ChatGPT, because I already understood where we were. And it's a
Right.
very useful tool for me. I mentioned before that my job description is to create narratives from data, use data to make a story. And so the way I make that story is making figures, and the way I make figures is coding. ChatGPT is a way better coder than I am. And so when I tell ChatGPT, like, look, I want a function that takes these inputs and that gives me these outputs, I have to iterate with it several times before we get on the same page. And then before I let it give me code, I have to ask to see the pseudocode, which is like human readable instructions of what the coding logic will do. And then it gives it to me. Because if you tell it, give me this, it's going to give you something, but it's probably going to be garbage.
Right, right, right. And that's true. And that's kind of what I was saying. Like, it's still really fairly new, and it still can't do everything. But hey, like you said, I'm not a coder, but it's helping me. And I think, I mean, I can speak now to it very similarly. Um, it's also helped me in a very similar way, like especially with coding. Because the way I saw it was like, well, computer scientists built it, so it can help me with computer scientist tasks. So I said, okay, I have this program. Can you help me debug it? And it did, and it helped me debug where some of my issues were. I mean, I can tell you, like, I had this issue recently with one of my codes where I couldn't get it to iterate like like exactly at 1 second apart. Like it would always buffer somehow, and I was like, well, I kind of accepted it like after a year trying to debugging it. I was like, well, I guess that's how the code is. And then I one day I was just like, hey, let's paste it to ChatGPT, and I asked it, hey, can you debug this code for me? And it did, and it fixed it for me. And I was like, whoa, that's crazy. Like I could have saved so much time. And so I kind of saw that as like a benefit, right? Um and also, and one of the things is I've been seeing a lot of newer engineers that are coming out of school. They use it a lot. Like it's like their like how we used to have calculators, how like for every little homework assignment we have, it's like their own personal calculator, right? If we can kind of parallel that same idea, this is kind of what they have on their side, and I guess if it helps them, that's good, right? Um, but yeah, but to me personally, it's also helped me in my job and just create a lot of like debug a lot of things, and also now that I'm kind of moving towards less technical work, it's also been helping me there because I don't have a lot of time to kind of really think about these things, so it's been helping me save some time. Um, so that's where I've personally found also a benefit, and I use it at work. So, Edgar, have you used it? Do you not use it? Are you like, I don't know?
Yeah, I use it. I'm not proud of it, but I use it. At work, I use it for Grammarly, which like checks your grammar and also makes suggestions. It's really good actually. Yeah, saves you a lot of time and kind of it does what I was gonna do anyways, but faster because it does sound like the more you use it, the more it sounds like you. So kind of like what Carlos said, like it does it for you, but then you're teaching it to think like you and be like you. And then the more you like interact with the AI, the more it like knows you and stuff, and it'll like kind of put it back into like your own words faster than I could. So yeah, I use it and it's effective, but I mean I don't like it. That shit's I don't like that I have to use that because other coworkers are also using it, and like everybody's using it, so you got to be just as fast as everyone else. What else? I also use it for also like kind of when I'm crunched on time, like I don't have a lot of time and I feed like there's events I gotta put together for some of the committees I'm in, and that's like extra work on top of my work that I'm not really getting paid for. So on that one, I just tell like, dude, can you create a logo for me? Can you create a title for like the presentation I'm gonna give based on my my PowerPoint? Can you like can you organize it for me? So I'll create like a schedule and a what is it called, like a kind of like the program for like the whole
Kind of
event,
like an outline
like an outline for the
or
event. Yeah, so it
itinerary.
cuts down a bunch of work.
Hmm.
Um, I use it like a personal assistant sometimes too, like to organize things for me. And that's at work. Outside of work, I've used it for um for dating, I told you guys there was like a time where I was taking pictures and I downloaded an AI app. Oh, I don't think I told you guys this one.
No.
Mm-mm.
I remember I
No, I was
mentioned
like,
that
what?
like the pictures was everything on dating apps.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I used one program that's like AI that cleans up your pictures and makes it like whatever picture you like it makes it like extra good, like professional quality.
Mm.
So I used it for that. Also, not proud of it, but like that's what you got to do.
And did it work? Like, did it really do?
Yeah. The pictures look like way better. And then just overall, like I use it without wanting to, kind of like Spotify will recommend songs without me wanting to. It knows me. Uh, there's a bunch of other apps that kind of it's already built into it,
Yeah.
where I don't have a choice on using it. Like Instagram, yeah. Like if you start scrolling through videos, like it kind of knows your algorithm or whatever. And again, on those you don't have a choice; it just kind of gets built for you.
Mm-hmm. Oh
Um,
yeah.
so yeah,
Yeah.
willingly and unwillingly, I use it, and I don't like it. We'll get to the why later.
Yeah. Mr. Jin, how about you? Tell us about how you use it or if you don't use it.
My thoughts over AI have evolved over the probably the last 6 months. I have been 100% resistant to it in the beginning. One, because I didn't know what it was, so as a being a complete unknown, I'm scared, and that's just my natural response to something I don't know. And then little by little, my wife has used it. She was also scared in the beginning. My wife used it, and she got good results. So then, I was curious, and I used it one time, and I thought it was pretty effective. I haven't really used it too many times in the workplace. I use it outside of work here in my personal life for maybe just quickly, vacation planning, just see what's out there. Instead of doing like full blown research and spending 3 hours doing it, you ask ChatGPT and it'll spit out something, an itinerary, and then you can also filter it out or refine that itinerary in like 30 seconds. I think that's pretty impressive myself. And then also, I like that you can just ask simple questions and it'll do it for you. But yeah, I don't really use it at work too often. I've heard other people use it and it's fine with me, but
Yeah, I
I'm not
mean,
I'm not a huge fan using it
so
at work.
so so we're not strangers to it, and it's pretty much surrounded us now. Like
Mhm.
wherever we're at or whatever we use, we see it, right?
Like,
So then, I guess with that, here comes my second question. So from what you've seen so far and how you've been exposed to it, what do you think are the pros and cons of AI from what you see right now?
is that a question towards me or is it to the whole?
Sure,
Okay,
let's start with
all right,
you.
I'll
What do you
go.
see the pros and cons being?
Well, with the pros, I mean, since everything is so readily available, you can ask it a simple question and it'll give you an output of that simple question. You can use it to code, which can take hours and days just to find an error. I think that's pretty critical as well. And it can be used for educational purposes, like as you mentioned before. You can use it to enlighten other kids, use an education system if you're falling behind, how to improve that particular set of like education standards to better fit the individual. I think can be used to help diagnose like problems. Like if you don't want to go see a doctor right away, and are you having like, I'm not gonna say heart palpitations, but because then you got to see a doctor. But something else like, oh, my stomach's bothering, my right side's bothering me. What do you think it can be? Is it something that I should go see the doctor? Is it something that maybe it requires just vitamin? Yeah, like a rash. Like if you need to go get a steroid or an ointment. Uh, and I think it can also be used like for mental health as well, right? So like if you're feeling down, if you can try to address why you're feeling down. But I think as a con is you can use it as a way to weaponize AI, right? You can ask, I think before, and I don't know if it's the same now, you can ask it to like what are the materials to make like an explosive, for example. I think that's been changed. I think you can be like, my grandma used to do this, et cetera, and they don't like kind of skirt that. Uh, so I think in that sense, and then AI can also be used as a crutch. Like Edgar was saying, he's not happy about it. I think we can lean heavily on using AI and will limit our ability to progress, get smarter. So, I don't know. Challenges and
No,
curiosity is
yeah,
what will help us, improve and get better.
yeah, and I think kind of what you were saying, like the crutch and or like the health example you were giving, I have noticed myself like asking it like, "Hey, I have this pain right here. Like, what do you think?" And it gives me an answer, and I'm like, "I'm okay with it." And so I don't go to the doctor when probably I should go to the doctor. But that made me think like, "Hey, you know what? If I'm thinking like this right now, imagine when it gets a little bit more refined. Like, there's gonna be people who are not who are gonna use it as a medical,
Absolutely. I
right?
mean, even now, before people go to like WebMD online,
Mm-hmm.
search for their
Yeah.
symptoms, and basically
Right.
diagnose themselves. Oh, AI,
Right.
you can do it even faster. You can
Yeah.
tell it exactly the criteria that you have. I have acute pain that lasted for 5 minutes,
Right.
et cetera, et
Right.
cetera.
Right. Right. So, um, yeah. I mean, those are good points. Edgar, what do you think? Pros and cons. Like,
Oh, dude, I have so many cons.
but that's
For the sake
good.
of, yeah, don't even get me started. I'm gonna go through like pros first. I think there are some pros. If we were a utopian society, like we've talked about on many episodes, then I think AI would actually be a good thing. Because the more it frees a person from labor, the more like time that we're supposed to have back for ourselves to enjoy it with family and have leisure time and like less work, right? Ideally, if this was a utopia, it would free us from the monotonous work that we need to do every day. So, you guys all mentioned like good examples of what it could be applied for. Um, but unfortunately, we don't live in a utopian society. Um, so my cons are just like so many that, and they relate to all the other topics too, starting with DEI. I can already see that it's not going to be equitable and equal to all. There's going to be a special class that's going to benefit from it more than others, and others will be negatively affected. I mean, it could go all the way to like facial recognition technology, um, where studies have shown that it's racist and it profiles people of color more because the AI is built on humans and humans is just a reflection of what the society is right now. So, you can't bake out of it implicit bias because that's just the way things are. That's the way the internet is, and it collects its backup data is already like tainted, so that's where it's getting its feed from. So yeah, man. Unfortunately, we don't live in a perfect world, and AI is going to be imperfect to start, all the way to what you mentioned of like it's going to take over the world kind of thing. I do think it's going to get to that point.
Do you think it's gonna get to the point where it's gonna control us instead of us
Ah,
controlling it?
dude, there's so many warnings. Michael Cintron wrote Jurassic Park just to warn us about relative chaos theory, and you cannot control these things. That
That's
uh
dinosaurs, though.
yeah, no, he wrote Jurassic Park. He wrote Westworld. I mean, dude, there's so
Okay.
many like novels and media that kind of like warns us. The Matrix, the show Westworld is a good one. But yeah, man, I think like Gian said, like humans are very smart, but I think we have a limit on how smart we are. AI is unlimited in like how smart it can get. At some point, we're gonna reach our cap, and then AI is just gonna continue to plateau us. I mean, it could get to the point where like we're just dumbasses compared to what AI can do.
So I thought it was interesting. One of the cons, how you kind of mentioned about like the racist profiles and the non equal to all. That's kind of segueing to my third question, and that I kind of want to start it with Carlos, and this is where I kind of wanted to go a little bit deeper. How do we see it impacting our society, our politics, our economics, our house family life, and so I think what you said, the concept being the racist profiles or the DEI, that not everyone's gonna have equal access to that. I kind of want to start with Carlos. Like, do you think that that could really be a thing, or do you think that's just kind of like, um, just
Fear
like scare
mongering.
tactic?
Yeah.
Fear mongering. There you go.
I think it's already happening. I think
Yeah.
in the founding discussions of that SpaceX town, Stargate, like there was like arguments for and against it, right? And a lot of the arguments that were heard for, people speculated that they were made by AI. So like give AI a prompt of like, hey AI, tell me why having a company-owned town named Stargate in Texas would be good, and make it about a paragraph. And generative AI can give you that. And so people were reading what seemed to be a bunch of that shit, right? Generated by AI. And so it's already interfering very directly in what's supposed to be a democratic process. Everywhere else, I think it's also gonna have an impact. We've mentioned how in previous episodes it can be a really game shifter for the educational realm, right? It's also gonna have a big impact on finance, right? Like the fear and awe that Gian and Edgar mentioned, I think is also felt in that sector, particularly uh, in an acute way. Because why do you employ day traders if you could just have a machine be ingesting vast amount of data and based on that data make a prediction in a fraction of a time it takes a human to do it and buy and sell as as the data changes. So it's going to make a lot of jobs obsolete for sure, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've heard that argument of like making jobs obsolete, especially like say where the software engineers. But I thought I was like when I first started researching this, I was like, yeah, it's gonna get rid of it. But I think we're still gonna need them. There's still gonna be a use. It's not gonna completely disappear them, right? Because you kind of need to
It
have.
will with time. Just not right now. We're not there yet, but yeah, it will with time.
So then it like so then that. But do you think our government would allow that to happen? I mean, come on, like that means a huge population of our sector, of our working labor sector, is gonna just be without work. Like,
Yeah, I don't think they would allow that. Yeah, usually democracies fail, systems fail when the gap between the rich and the poor is like too wide that yeah, that the people at the bottom revolt, right? So if everybody loses their job, like how the hell is capitalism going to work, right? Like you need people to make money in order to spend to keep the wheel turning. So yeah, if everybody gets replaced out of a job, then that's not going to be a functioning capitalism. So this is where what this guy Carlos has been saying for a while, the universal basic income. But Carlos, you say it's a good thing. I say like, dude, if we ever get to that point, we've hit rock bottom. Like that means our society has reached the point where um yeah, the masters are like just absolutely controlling us, and to keep us from revolting they need to pay us, right? Like this universal basic income because our job has been replaced or whatever by AI.
I could see it, but
um
my vision for that would be for everyone to have access to housing, healthcare, education, and food as they
and
see fit.
you're the one that introduced me to that movie. What's that movie called where they turn into horses?
Sorry to bother you.
Everybody, dude, that's
That
such
was
a
a
good
good one.
movie.
Yeah.
That's such a good movie. Everybody should watch that one. But yeah, I see AI leading us towards that path where like Amazon, in the movie it's Amazon or whatever, but they call themselves worry free. I mean, it's basically like slavery, like oh yeah, you don't have a job, you don't have housing, just come work for us, we'll give you housing, we'll give you meals, but you just gotta work for us. But it's like modern day slavery.
I mean,
um
it's just, I think, I mean, Google does that. Apple does that. I mean,
what?
they invest in people by giving them housing, by giving them a residence while they're working for them, and
Yeah,
they
that's not a
provide
good
food.
thing. That's not a
I
good thing.
true.
well, I don't know. I don't think so. I think it is, man. I mean, I think it's an incentive to kind of keep you motivated in a way.
The more you spend time there, the more work you'll do for them. So it's not
That's
they're not
true.
doing it for good reason.
Well, well. I mean, Ideally. I
Your
mean,
question was, is the government
but
gonna allow people to like go without
yeah,
jobs?
I don't think I
No, and
don't.
I think at some point they're gonna like stop it. It was like, oh shit, too many people are losing their jobs. They're gonna revolt. We need to not cause a revolution. So yeah, they'll stop it at some point.
Yeah, because I think eventually, like, if it's gonna get rid of, I mean, the basic employer, I think it's also gonna get rid of the CEO. Like, and so when you hit to that point, like it doesn't work, right? I mean, if you guys say there's somebody in power always, they're gonna that person in control should have some control over AI, right?
Yeah, I think it's like a rubber band at this point, where you have AI up in the front. You're stretching out this rubber band. In the front, you have
Mm-hmm.
AI. There is going to be a point when government has to come in and has to step in and try to regulate. But until that point, that AI is way up far ahead, and then the government is way behind. And as soon as it catches up, that's when the rubber band snaps, right? So that's when it's going to be a problem. You were talking about AI, or the AI almost cloning you. You got your voice, it's picking up your face. So at some point, it's going to start replacing us.
I mean, the thing with the government too is that you have a bunch of people who are really old who probably struggle to send a text message or email on their smartphone,
True.
right? And
That's
so they're barely getting around to try and regulate Facebook and Google. And how long has that been around for? They're not going to regulate AI in time, right?
absolutely.
They're not there. They just cannot keep up. And so I worry for
And
that.
and it's slow too. Like trying to pass laws, like it's hard and it's slow. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you have lobbyists by these very powerful companies who are developing these generative AI models, essentially lobbying them not to regulate them, similar to the financial sector, right?
Mhm.
So, so I don't know. I think your guys' assumption of the government stepping in to safeguard some jobs from being eliminated is predicated on the assumption that there's some level of competence and benevolence with the government towards its population. And so I'd be really skeptical of that. I think they see us as an orange and they want to make juice and they want to squeeze as much juice from that orange as they can until we start pushing back. And I think they kind of enjoy like, how much can I squeeze before these people actually like start revolting or start fighting
So,
back?
so am I understanding correctly that you're saying that those at power are just kind of pushing the people to a certain point just for kind of like fun? Like, no, to get profits for them, but at the same time, like to see up to what point can they'll push, they'll say no more, and then be like, okay, I'll let you alone. Now I'm gonna crush all your.
Not only that, but I think that some of these oligarchs are accepting the end of the world as a fact. People like Elon Musk, like Peter Thiel, um, Donald Trump, they kind of see that the world is going to shit and they are stepping on the accelerator quicker. They're doing their part so that that happens, so that you can go occupy Mars, right? So that you can say goodbye to the planet. And now we have a company planet. Now we have not a company town, but a company planet with some editor. And I don't know why the thing is celebrating that. That's pretty dark.
But I
The
think,
AI,
see,
dude.
AI, like what you said, you're like, yeah, step into the accelerator. No, but that's a good point. That is something very big that they're really into, and it's funny because it does kind of like link into the term artificial intelligence, because it was written like with like sci-fi in mind, right? Always like the end of the world, the destruction, and always we're going somewhere else because intelligence and computers and machine have always gone too far, right? And it's kind of like they want that sci-fi to become a reality, and they're really pushing to for that reality. Um, so then let me ask: do you think this is really making us smarter? Like, because in a way, that's the argument. Like, I think AI can enable us to now like free ours. Like, if you can think about like a hard drive in our mind. A lot of the menial things AI can handle it, and now we can become more creative to do other things. But there's been arguments where, like Jens was saying, one of the concepts, it can become a crutch. So is it a crutch or is it like a creativity a booster? What do you guys think?
I think it could be, dude, like I said, like it could have been where it frees us had we lived in a utopian society. Yeah, it could, like, if I could just let AI do my job and I could go read a novel, I could do some painting, then hell yeah, like I would have the time to become the next Picasso or I don't know, Lamine Yamal or something.
No, but I think even right now, like a non-utopian like state, like, we
And
can still do
nah,
that.
dude, you swear, like
We
it's
can
just
do that.
making shit faster so that I could go do more work. Like,
That's
Well,
okay,
that's
yeah,
yes,
it.
now
that's
I don't take as long as writing my email, but now I gotta go get some other work done.
that's
But
right.
you have the choice to do work, right?
No,
Like,
because if Gian's also using it and he's my coworker and Carlos is using it, the consultants is using it, then everybody's just becoming faster. I gotta like keep up with the times and just to be a better worker, I gotta use AI now to become faster and more efficient because everybody else is becoming faster and efficient.
but your job description only match a certain requirement. That's it. That's as much you match. Like, why would you? Like, you're not competing against them. You're just kind of producing. You're producing still work. You're still producing work, and it's
Man, it's like calculators. Like yeah, like back in the day the engineers had to calculate out everything by hand. And that shit took a lot of time. So they either overbuilt things. It was like very they had a lot of factor of safety in it. And it took a lot of time. Once we got like programs like RISA that does the structural calcs for us, um I'm expected to just do my work faster, man. Like it doesn't mean that I do it in the same amount of time. It means I got to do it faster now because I have this tool that helps me. So with AI, it's not freeing me up. It's just making me faster so that I could go do more work and make more money for my company or whatever.
it can also help you make more money for you, right? I mean, you're a business. You like
Yeah,
that financial freedom, right?
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
there's a lot of content creators
Oh,
out there who are
actually, I
using
should mention
IA.
that on my yeah, I didn't mention this. So I write books and I sell them on Amazon, and I use AI for that. Yeah, it writes books for me.
See, and
These
so
are
in a way,
children's book, like yeah.
yeah,
But
but
yeah,
you
it makes
can,
money for me too.
yeah, you can use it to generate some side hustle, which in a way cannot enable you to work as hard to get that promotion, right? So I'm not saying to be complacent, but in a way, be like, yeah, just work to a good pace where I know I'll contribute effectively. You know, not always more and more, because you'll be able to enable like a side, I guess, like a side hustle or something like that. Like for
Hmm.
example, I was thinking about that podcast side of thing. You can create a YouTube channel with just a podcast talking about AI podcast talking about random articles that came out today. You know, and every day give them that the news. And you need never put your face there. You never did anything. AI just did it all for you. It'll
Yeah.
generate income, passive income, right? So
Yeah, but I know how to use it, and like I said, based on the DEI one, like I don't see my parents doing that, or like someone that is an immigrant that came from this country. Like it's not gonna benefit them, right? So it's just gonna help the rich get richer, poor get poor. That's just the way I see it.
Yeah,
yeah,
I agree with Edgar. And I definitely understand what he's saying about just keeping up with the times. Like, can you imagine back in the day when they drafted engineering drawings by hand and then AutoCAD came
Mhm.
and then something else from AutoCAD came that I am out of the loop?
Yeah. It doesn't
Hmm.
mean that you get your time back. It just means like
Exactly,
still
exactly.
work 40 hours,
More,
right? Yeah, you just
Hmm.
work
more.
more.
Yeah. I want more from you.
Yeah.
I'm going to pay you the same and I expect you to get training to stay up with the times, but now you need to be more effective.
Hmm.
but so from what I'm hearing from you guys, it seems like you guys are saying we create these tools not as a new um advancement in society in the world, but more for work purposes to get more out of you. Kind of like what Carlos was saying, like to squeeze more out of you. Like that's why we create these tools, and not for innovation for an innovation reason.
It's not that the tool doesn't free you. The tool kind of takes over you and makes you dependent on it so that you can just stay with the times.
So you don't think it has any addition to innovation?
Sure, but I'm curious to hear what Gian
Yeah,
has to say.
Yeah, I've been trying to say, I think you got to look at it from both sides of the coin. I think it does help us in innovation. I think the spirit is there. GPT is a neural network to improve or better our society, right? We can ask it a question, boom, it gives you an answer. It doesn't necessarily have to be regarding work, although work probably takes like 80% of our life, so it's a big part of our life, and that's probably why we use it as a tool, just to quickly finish a task, but then we have another task and we have to complete that. So I could see why we would uh, look at it as a negative thing, right? Work, we still have to work 9 hours a day. It's what we get done within those 9 hours. We can complete many tasks using AI, or we can complete a subset of that. But outside of work, you can use AI to plan trips, for example, to just, like you were saying, make passive income, find different ways to make revenue. Do I think it will free us? No, because we have TikTok, we have Instagram, we have other ways to occupy our time. So our attention span is a lot shorter. Right now, even prior to generative AI, we would utilize TikTok just to watch videos, YouTube Shorts. Man, I remember when we used to have Alan every day when we were at Geisel. Hey guys, you want to see this YouTube clip? This is hilarious, and he would. It was like every 5 minutes, and so that reduced to like a 30-second clip. Now it's a 10-second clip. So our attention span is a lot shorter. So we use ChatGPT or AI as kind of a way as a tool to just give us spit out an answer because we don't have the attention span anymore. So
Yeah, Jose, your original question was like, is AI good or evil? I
Yeah.
don't even think the AI is neutral. Like it's
yeah.
neither good nor evil. It's the way it's reflective of our society that we live in that makes it evil because of the way that we're gonna use it. And what
So
I'm saying is like best case scenario, man. Once I get to worst case scenario, that's where it really gets dangerous.
so in reality, it's not an. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Carlos.
Okay, yeah, I have something to tag off right what Edgar said about worst case scenario. AI is being used to select targets in Gaza, in aiding a genocide that's being live streamed right now through social media that is being ignored by a lot of the mass media. There's a program, an algorithm called the Gospel that gives targets to the Israeli Air Force on what to bomb. There's another AI assisted tool called Lavender. It tells the Israeli occupation forces who you can kill, who's a suspected member of Hamas, who is acceptable collateral damage. And there's some soldiers who have been interviewed from the Israeli occupation forces that I have some quotes here that said, the machine did it coldly and it made it easier to approve targets. So in essence, what you're doing is that you're not even selecting the targets now. You're just approving them based on some machine learning or artificial intelligence algorithm that were spoon-fed to you. And you said, okay, let's go. Boom, bomb them. And so this connects to a concept that I feel is really at the core of why bad shit happens in our society by this Jewish woman. Maybe I'm not sure, I shouldn't say. I'm just going to say her name, Hannah Arendt or something. The end is a D and a T. She coined a term called the banality of evil. And the basic argument is that unspeakable, heinous crimes, such as the Holocaust, can be committed by ordinary people when they follow orders, when they don't think critically, and when they don't have a moral reflection on what they're doing. And so she wasn't saying necessarily that the SS officers that were doing the Holocaust were just monsters. She was just saying that they were bureaucrats doing their jobs. And so to bring it full circle, this is happening right now in real time. When an army is using targets given to you by artificial intelligence and you're just rubber stamping them, in a way it washes your hands of the responsibility of those deaths. And so that's the worst that can come from this tool. And I can see it being sold and exported to other places. Because oftentimes Gaza serves as a laboratory setting where the Israeli state fine-tunes weapons to use on refugees on flip-flops, and then they export around the world.
So the selection is being made by AI, and then AI is driving the plane because now it's like autonomous, right? You just program the route. It's like, oh, okay. So you don't even need to see who you're killing, how they're being killed. Like, completely desensitizes you from the task at hand, thanks to AI, And AI doesn't care, dude. It doesn't have feelings. It's just a program. But that's not even the worst case, man. Worst case is now like Terminator. Uh,
It's
yeah, like
it's Eagle Eye.
have you guys seen Leave the World Behind on Netflix? Is it Netflix? Yeah, Netflix. Oh man, that's such a good movie, guys. You guys should watch that one. But that's like when people become completely reliant on technology, and so basically the movie, like one day you just wake up and you don't have internet. There's no like TV, there's no internet,
Can you
and
imagine?
Spoiler alert or what?
no, it's a good movie. I mean, I think it's like could happen right now. And so they're trying to figure out like who's at fault, and then there's like misinformation on the news. Um, and so the people within our own country, like the neighbors, start kind of like, "Hey, can I get some?" It starts becoming like weeks, and like they want to get medicine and stuff, and the neighbors like, "Fuck no, dude! Like, if you want to come get my shit, your cash is no good anymore, money's no good because the internet is down." So they're like, "Yeah, if you want to come get my shit, you're gonna have to like take it from me." And he has guns, and they're blaming China, then they're blaming like Russia, and it's Iran. Like they don't even know who's behind it because the technology is just not there. It got hacked or whatever. So like the worst case scenario is like warfare AI, where like now either the AI itself has become self aware and is like trying to take over, or other governments are using AI for invasion and stuff like that, where they're completely like knocking out the power, and just like we become like fucking deers in headlights. Like we have no idea what's going on because we're so dependent on technology. And then this is where like mass casualty comes into play. Um, Kind of like end of times. Right
Yeah,
now,
if
selective.
you're in Gaza, that's the end of times right now.
Yeah, if you're in
Like
Gaza,
what
but
you're
I was talking about
describing.
like now tie that shit to like World War III, where like nuclear wars are involved and AI is making decisions. Like, yeah, if you strike here with this fucking nuclear missile, like you'll get mass casualty. And like, who's making these decisions, right? Like, yeah, that's where I could see it when it starts tying into like fucking wars and
Uh,
World War III, and like that's when it gets really really bad.
yeah, I wanted to make a couple of brief comments. Like, I find it kind of disturbing how most of us, or maybe not all of us, maybe all of us, can more readily imagine doomsday than the utopia, right? It feels like collectively it's easier to do that. Like, oh, the end of the world, like she's going to the gutter and we're all going to die. Whereas imagining the opposite of that, it's really hard, right? And then I wanted to get a reaction to spice things up a little from Hoser and Gian in particular to what I said about the banality of evil. The argument is basically that atrocities can be committed when people follow orders, when they don't think critically, and when they have a lack of moral reflection on what they're doing. And the acts can be all the way to something like the Holocaust. That's the banality of evil argument from Hannah Arendt. So that's step one. That's the argument. Step two, I'm relating it to you guys and your lives. Do you guys see that in your day to day? Do you guys think you're part of that? Do you guys see it in your peers? Have you guys ever thought about this? Is this all new? What are your thoughts and reactions to this?
Jose, you want to go first?
Okay,
Sure.
while you guys think, let me
Sure.
just say one thing. I have
Okay.
one of our newest employees used to be a student. She went to Northrop Grumman or one of those like defense companies,
Huh?
and then she came back to the city. And what she said is that the projects are so top secret that her portion of the work is like she's limited to and her emails delete within like 30 days or something like that, right? So she doesn't even know what the fuck she's working on, dude. She just knows like I got to work on this part of the plane, and somehow it's gonna tie into a bigger picture. But all she knows is like I just got to work on this part right here. So I
So,
think it's effective. Like, yeah, that's how
so,
atrocities get committed.
so let's go with the banality of evil. What did you say about how does morality affect atrocities?
A lack of moral reflection on what you're doing. But based on what
Okay,
Edgar says, you can't have a moral reflection on what you're doing because you don't know
you
what you're
can.
doing.
That's right.
Exactly.
No, you can because
Do you even know what you're doing?
yeah, I do, I do. But the thing is, here's the thing: we are in a constant war. I think in this world overall. No, really. I mean, come on, you guys are parents, right? You guys have to fight to defend your kid, one way or another. You decide what you want him to learn, what not. Carlos is at a war with himself of what he's gonna listen to, what he's not. Okay, I don't think that these are banalities of evil are or what the definition of atrocities. I think they do describe them, but I also think that it's missing feelings. A lot of times, people are into their feelings. They're they're so angry about something that has nothing to do with whatever's going on. So, like for example, following orders. I think you can be rebellious, think critically, and not be moral at all, and create evil. There's an evil. I think we all are somewhat evil in our fleshly desires. You know why? Because we want things that we can't. You know. Now, now, how do I deal with what I'm doing? I don't know. Like for example, okay, example. You can say, oh well, what you're working on, someone can utilize it to contribute to this. Well, yeah, but it's kind of like what Edgar was saying. AI is neutral, right? I think what I'm doing is neutral. Whoever decides to grab, who has the power and control to use whatever I use to make it for its own thing, that's not on me. That's on them, right?
That's true. Yeah, somebody's gonna
In,
do it anyways.
in that case, then whoever created AI was evil because it's being used like Carlos in the forms that Carlos was mentioning. That's my reasoning. Gian?
I want to take Carlos's analogy of touching, pushing the red button, rubber stamping. I'm not the person rubber stamping. I'm not seeing the full picture as Hoser is alluding to. I work on a subset of things. I can work on like a particular, what I want to say. Let's say you take a particular toy, right? A pencil. A pencil, can it be used as a weapon or can it be used to write your thoughts? It can be both. All right. So in a sense, what I think I'm doing is for the greater good. Right? It could be construed to a different person as a greater evil or as greater good. Right? Like if I'm working on a particular project or something like that, that project can be used for good. It can be used for saving people, rescuing people, or sensing positive activities. It can also be used for the opposite. So it's all kind of dependent on who pulls purse strings on what they plan on using it for. So if it's going to you, Carlos, would you use it for good or bad? Like that type of thing. If I see, you can go to Edgar, and Edgar could use it for a completely different purpose. So in that
You know
sense,
what?
I'm a little desensitized.
Yeah, I'm changing my mind, dude. I agree with Gene and Carlos. I'm just thinking like Ukraine, they're being invaded right now, man. I think this is gonna. I mean, yeah, it's gonna move forward regardless. So might as well
I
just
mean,
go
you
for
agree
it.
with Gian and Hauser.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think.
Carlos is opposite.
I think. Yeah, man. You can't
I
stop
can,
it. You can't
yeah,
stop it. So might as well fucking be an expert
but
in AI, like personally, so that in my life I can make money. It could free me up. I could help my kids. Once you said kids, Jose, I was like, oh yeah, you're right. I would do anything for my kids.
That's right.
Fuck
yeah,
everybody else.
because typically I think people when they create like kind of like atrocity like definitions like those like they're thinking
Yeah.
about themselves like
Eh,
about their hurt.
right.
I
And then
think
as a country, yeah, you're right. We should be number one because fucking China's like, they're developing their AI. We can't fall behind it. Otherwise, they could use it against us.
matter of fact, I would argue that those who are at school learning some topic and getting their minds filled not with what they're studying but with other ideals like radical ideals, that's also part of that banality of evil because because they're enticing your feelings. For example, like climate change, they can be telling you, you see how the climate is? The people they're making this bad for you. And it kind of brings a rage for someone who really cares about the environment sincerely. And in a way, it's kind of like, it gets you so worked up that you can be part of actions that are not edifying to this world.
Yeah, if we were to stop research on AI and it's like, hey guys, let's be a peaceful USA. Let's, you know, forget this AI stuff. Like all these other countries are gonna develop and use it for nefarious reasons against us. So
Yeah.
because of the society we're in, yeah, go all in on AI, man.
I mean, here's the thing. I think there's positive feedback loops in the system that are accelerating our demise as a civilization. And that I want to hopefully put a timestamp on this podcast episode and see it 50 years later to see where we are, if we're still alive back then, and what kind of world we're living in, right?
Yeah.
That's going to be really interesting. And number two, contrary to Hoser, I think that most people are good. I'm not Christian, far from it. But I think most people are like me and you guys here, who would like to have a calm, peaceful life, who, if have the wherewithal and the time and the resources, would lend a helping hand. But ultimately, when it comes down to it, it's my tribe and my kids first, everything else. And I think that's what is accelerating our demise to the precipice. What's the precipice? Every time we made a Google search and we hit return, we would consume, I don't know, to say a random number, 1 amp of current or whatever, which is ridiculous. It's false, right? But just to make an analogy. Now, every time we make a ChatGPT request and I hit return, it's like 10 amps. It's like dimming the lights in my office, right? What is that doing? That's consuming more resources. That's using more water. That's clearing more land, which is accelerating the climate crisis, which is accelerating our use of the planet, which is just driving us closer to the precipice. And we're falling into what these people want, what Elon Musk wants, what Peter Thiel wants, what Donald Trump is preparing for. And yeah, I mean, the thing I try to do is just be at peace with it. Previously, I used to rage. I think Hoser was making a cartoon of how pissed off I was at UCSD.
That was me.
Now it's like, you know, the universe is so big. We're just a tiny mote of dust floating in this sea of space and time that it doesn't matter.
And that's a nice spot to hit, because, and the reason why I'm mentioning it, it's not because of you. Like, it's because I see a lot of youngins, like young, like Generation Z, and these new generations. They're angry. They're angry. They're
That's
upset.
social media, dude. That's social media, and that's the algorithm leading them towards things that get them like all worked up.
You can see that, yeah.
So
Yeah, I
the
think
other
so.
thing about AI is that soon we'll live in a world where you don't know what's real or fake, with the deep fakes
Yeah.
and like
Yeah, that's very scary. I think
being able
that.
to manipulate history and like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, you're not gonna know what's real, what's not. And I
Like
see this ending in The Road by what's that guy's the author? Francis McCarthy?
Cormac McCarthy.
Cormac McCarthy, yeah. This is gonna end in The Road. And in The Road, the father and son, that's all they care about is just father and son, man. But there's a little bit of hope at the end because they find the kid finds a larger tribe, right? And they're like trying to rebuild and stuff. But to get to that point, yeah, I mean the world needs to end. And then you can start over. But from here until then, uh use what I agree with you guys. Just use AI for your own benefit because everybody else is gonna use it and it's in your best interest to use it yourself. So
Yeah.
that's too bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and any
About the
thoughts?
world ending, it's not going
Oh,
to be a homogeneous thing. I think it's already ending in certain places.
Yeah, I agree.
Central America, climate crisis hit really bad. You have refugee caravans going to the north, being stopped in Mexico, sometimes making it to the US. If you're in Gaza, the world ended a long time ago. The world ended for all of us during the COVID pandemic. It's not going to be a homogeneous thing where you turn off the light. It's going to start happening gradually. It's going to spread in patches, and we will see what community we find ourselves being part of.
Where it's kind of leading. I mean, Carlos talks about it. Act as if today's your last day, type of thing, right? Or think about like if death is chasing you. If it's right behind you, if you were to turn around, death is right there. Are you happy? That's kind of what we're leading towards. Yeah, that's right. Well, don't do that. Yeah, I think AI can be destructive. And what you're saying, Edgar, you're afraid that history is going to be changed. We already have AI making videos on YouTube about like trailers about movies that don't exist. They can already cause deep fake, be clones of you online, essentially.
Yeah.
That already exists. It's knowing how to navigate through that, and I think that's a challenging part in everything. It makes you want to just be closer to your community, and your community is your immediate family. Like to me, my community is my family. I will do anything I can to help them and support them. Screw everything else
So
around, every external thing. I don't know if it's real or not. What I do know is what I can see, and that's my family.
yeah, and usually we end the show with like, what can the herd do to, or yeah, what can you do to so that we're not bewildered herd? And I think normally here is where we would say like, yeah, don't try not to use like AI, or like don't go to social media, and like, nah, I'm gonna say like, nah, man, sorry, but like that's not good advice, because I just think everyone needs to use it. That's just where we're at. What do you think, Carlos? What you resist?
No, clearly I use AI every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
It's not about that. Like taking it back to the herd. Unfortunately, I'm now moving more towards accepting that that's what we've been, that's what we are, that's what we will be.
Yeah.
To people in power, we're a bewildered herd. We'll have a screen in front of us and we'll be like, scrolling and maybe getting politicized, radicalized, isolated, and yeah.
I'm sorry, Hoser, but yeah, AI, like nuclear technology, could have been a good thing. Like we could have, with nuclear power, we could have gotten like, clean, unlimited source of power, but it could also be used for weapons of mass destruction. And I think that's AI.
I agree with you just because I think it is the person who uses it, right? How the society or the people using that tool is just. I really like what you said. How it's neutral. It's a reflection of our society and how it's going, how it's moving, right? I think like during the '60s, I always think it's funny how like people thought we were gonna be in space by this time, right? And we never did. But why? Because there were interests, right? Certain interests, right? I heard. I think it was Neil deGrasse Tyson said, "We didn't go to space. Wasn't like about innovation. It was about war." So it's like, oh, that's interesting. So
Hey, but from here until that day comes, at least Carlos can use AI to come up with some like badass episode description, right? It'll be funny.
that's true. He can create a side hustle for meal plans.
Oh
That's
yeah,
true.
he gave
For
us a
meal
meal
plans.
plan in the meantime.
Mm, yeah,
Which,
That's
by the way,
cool.
Jose, have you been using the meal plans? Carlos is generating
it's half and half.
half an hour. Oh man.
I recently fell off the wagon.
It's hard, man. It's hard for me. I need to make a new meal plan for myself.
Yeah, actually, I was gonna ask, but like I felt like it kind of got like kind of more routine again, and I went back to an old routine. Do
Same.
you need to update it? Like,
I'm the
yeah,
same.
huh?
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm.
But
But you know now,
but
you can.
I really question my commitment to my goals. And so I can't speak for yours all commitment to your goals, but I question my commitment to my goals, because a goal is something I'm absolutely determined to do. And yet I find myself like
Yeah.
being bewildered.
And see, that's an awesome example, right? Like of how AI, right? I got a similar AI meal plan from Carlos, and I'm like, I fill out the plan, and I don't think I've lost anything. Yeah, Edgar here, he got the meal plan. My gosh, this guy is like I don't know why he's not flexing right now, but he's pretty rich. Look at that. Look at that. You know, he's getting into fighting weight. You know what I mean? And it's helping him. You know, so it's how we use that information. I think, like Carlos said, like anything else, right?
Edgar's just preparing to fight me, to kick my ass. He's not gonna go to the tournament, dude.
Yeah, I think so. Inside that little room where you're at.
Yeah, he's just gonna fuck me up when he sees me. He's not gonna go compete with other people who can defend themselves.
We shall wait till that day of the fight. But until then, I think this kind of wraps it up for today. Guys, thank you so much. Again, like Edgar said, I didn't think it was going to go here, but it went here. But that's all right. It's cool, because that's why we're the Bewildered Herd. So that's it for today, and so let's get ready for the next one. I'm excited about the next one. I think it's either, I think it's you.
Sure?
Or Gian. No, it's Gian. It's Gian. So it is Gian next. So until then.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So until then, folks, thank you so much for watching today, and we'll see you next time. Bewildered Herd out. Oh, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
There you go, Adam.
Like, share, and subscribe, guys. Go and do that right now to all your friends.
Or out.